Right before the very well-known psukim of Vayibin so Aron with the double nuns, the Torah tells us, Vayisu mehar Hashem, they went from the way of Hashem, down mountain of Hashem, derech shloshes yomim, a path of 3 days. Va'aron bris Hashem noseh lifneihem, derech shloshes yomim, losur lohem minucha. And the Aron, the ark, went in front of them 3 days to prepare for them along the way. And Rashi comments, this was the Aron that went with them to war. Ubo shivri luchos munachim. And inside that Aron were the broken pieces of the luchos. The first luchos that Moshe brought down and saw that Bnei Yisrael were sinning and decided to break them, those were inside that Aron. And this Aron went ahead, makdim ifneim derech shloshas yamim, it went 3 days ahead, l'sakein lahem makom chaniya, in order to prepare for them a place to rest. What does Rashi mean that this was the Aron that went out to them to war? Was there any other Aron? What exactly is Rashi referring to? And why is it specifically that the Shivrei Luchos, that the Luchos that had been broken, are what is found inside of that Aron? So the Sifri that Rashi is quoting teaches us that in fact there were 2 different Arons. There was, right, we see from Shnei Aronos Hayu. There were 2 different Aron Kodesh that served the different purposes of the Luchos. There was one that stayed put in its place, and that one contained the totality of the Luchos. That one was the one that housed the necessary components for the Mishkan. And then there was the one that went out with them to war. And it's problematic because the Gemara Bava Basra and Daf Yadala seems to imply that there only is one. So the Mefarshim explain that maybe the idea is that there's a difference between when they were traveling and when it was permanent. When it was permanent in the Beis HaMikdash, there was only one Aron. But when they were traveling in the Mishkan, in the time of the Mishkan, through the Midbar, there were in fact 2. And that one that traveled in front of them to prepare the way for them contained the Shivrei Luchos. And the question is why? What was the significance of the fact that it contained the broken parts of the Luchos? And perhaps it gets back to a more fundamental question, which is why hold on to the Shivrei Luchos at all? Why is it necessary? They're broken, they're destroyed, there are new ones. And I think that the answer might be is that it's specifically from that which is broken. It's specifically from the fact that it was broken and we pick ourselves back up. And now there are whole luchos. That is what gives us the strength to be able to move forward. It's when we fail and we fall and we get back up and we rise that we become stronger. We don't throw out our failures, but we build up from them. We hold on to them, not so that as a setback, not to hold us back, but to give us the energy and the fuel to be able to move forward. And that is why La'olam Va'ed, and that is why forever the Shivrei Luchos are Munachim in the Aron, the most holy of places. That's where the Shivrei Luchos need to remain together with the other Luchos. So why is it specifically in that Aron that has the Shivrei Luchos, that's went out to the Melchama? I think homiletically we can understand Al Pi Derech HaDrush that the Torah is telling us that's the secret to every battle. We're all going to have battles at different parts of our lives. And the secret to succeeding is not to look back at past successes, but to look back at our failures and how we picked ourselves back up. And if we take the Shivrei Luchos and we realize that we may have made mistakes along the way, and now we're going out to battle against some new challenge, whether it be the physical challenges that Bnei Yisrael were encountering in the Midbar, that would go out with them to war, or whether it's the wars that we fight against the Yetzer Hara, the wars that we have to fight on a constant basis, the key to success is remembering the Shivrei Luchos. Remembering that if we follow Sheva Yipol Tzaddik V'Kam, as the Baal Shem Tov explains, it's not just that the Tzaddik is somebody who can get back up, but the Tzaddik becomes who he is because he fell. When we remember our mistakes and we use them to help us grow, that completes the luchos, that brings the Shivrei Luchos, and it turns them into the luchos which are full, which are whole. And that maybe is the message that Rashi is telling us from the Sifrei, that when we go out to battle, whatever it might be, we shouldn't be afraid of falling. We shouldn't be afraid of our failures. We should embrace them. We should use them as opportunities to figure out how can we grow, how can we get closer to Hashem, how can we use our mistakes as opportunities to grow, and in that way merit that the luchos should be complete in us, that we'll continue to grow, we'll continue to get closer to Hashem, and ultimately have that single Aron that should be in the Beis HaMikdash Sheibana B'mheirav Yameinu. Amen.